Oh, oh, Dream Chasers, what's going on? Welcome to another episode. I'm your host, General Moses, Adam Carswell. Call me whatever you want. We're here. We're ready to rock with a good friend of ours, a repeat guest on the show now, Redux Saints. You also might know him as Placebo Effects. You also might know him as Jason Trevor Miller on Facebook. I think that's actually where I did first meet this fine gentleman. But anyways, we're going to dive into a lot of fun things here today, from a Miami compilation coming out, which I happen to have a record on, which I'm pumped and stoked to just talk about that. I'm sure you are too. I'm just going to call you Redux today, just for the sake of it. Got some Miami. He's playing a bunch in Miami. So if you're going to Miami, get ready for that. Some 5-year anniversary stuff for the DTLA label, a DJ mix competition. And I got to say, Redux, I have Trip stuck in my head right now, one of your latest releases. I don't know if I could, when I first heard In Need, like that's how I found you. And that was a banger. And that's still stuck in my head too. But the way, and I'm sure you've probably heard this from like several people at this point, the way you kind of crafted that first drop, dude, like
So
it's whoa,
there's
like
some inspiration behind that one, and it's sometimes I will see something and I'll kind of be like, how can I like mimic that feeling using synth? So this one was really based off like a horror film. I had just seen I had just seen Jason, and then and that's really like what the idea was behind that kind of synth, was to kind of maybe make you feel like you were about to get stabbed with the drop. So
well, I mean, yeah, no, and I listened to it a handful of times as well, and I'm thinking about the second drop. I mean, the suspense and the breakdown is great. Um, but really just the bass and the kick come in fully there, and this all the synths and everything. I mean, it's just it's very
yeah.
unique, it's addictive. Highly recommend everyone here, look up Trip Redux Saints. When did that drop? It was like within the past couple
Uh,
of
it's actually just last Friday. So it was
okay,
my
wow.
first release of 2024 on DTLA. So yeah.
I know we got a bunch to get to here, but I am curious, especially since we talked about before we went live, just the ability you kind of control your own future a bit more the way with you've got your business set up. So, how long was the process from creating that record to releasing it for you, kind of being in your shoes?
Well, I kind of switch back and forth between Redux Saints and Placebo Effect, because it's like I'll do a couple of tech house tracks, then I'll be like, like kind of get bored with this. So I'll move over to like the melodic side of stuff. And like I had mentioned, is like, I was saying to myself, I wonder if I just focused on one guy, I'd be farther along with that one guy. But then, what I always come back to it is like the label, I'm throwing events, booking myself. I have my own platform to release music on. So I get it out. I'm not waiting around for people. Don't get me wrong, I do like submit to labels, but like my threshold of patience is like here. So like, it goes on level. And then placebo effect stuff, that's a little bit more, takes a little bit longer to craft those tracks than it does like the groove based like tech house stuff. And then yeah, so where I am with stuff now is like, I'm growing the label around these two monikers, and these are the two type of musics. Like if I would play tracks in my sets, those are the ones that I would sign to label. And that's exactly what I said to you. It might be a good transition into it. Was the track that we signed with you is like, hey, I usually get feedback on the track. An artist will say, I want to, or I don't. You know, I'm crafting it to be like where I would play it in my absolutely 100% play it in my set, and then I sign.
And yeah, I thank you for the opportunity to get a record signed with you guys. I know from getting to know your background, I can't remember what you've gone through, a lot of like just musical theory training, right? And so I know because of that, your selectiveness, you probably also have a just a higher standard that you hold you and your artist to. So to make that cut, and I was hoping that we'd find the right vocal to get in there, and we did. Just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to the Miami compilation, which I think it probably would be best for our listeners to hear a little bit about that from you, the host.
Yeah, sure. So right around Miami Music Week, I like to have some new music out, and this one is special to me because previously we had Daniel Tax in charge of AR with it, and just because of personal reasons and work and stuff like that, he's moved out of that position, and I moved back into to doing the AR and signing tracks. So this is the first full comp that I've actually selected all the tracks for it. So obviously to me, I'm kind of back doing that. So it's called Deep Tech Miami. We do it ever like for Miami Music Week. It's a comp, 5 tracks. I like to keep it to like 5 to 7 tracks because I think like when you get through those large like 70 comps or like like the 20 comps, some of the tracks that are quality get lost in the shuffle. So
Mm.
I like to kind of keep it around 5, 6. We'll do multiple comps throughout the year, like an ADE and a Visa and stuff like that. But this one's kind of like the fresh springtime, fresh music, kind of got that Miami vibe to it, some new traits. And like I said, I've already dropped your track in multiple, mixes, and that's one of the things I kind of pride myself is like taking kind of like the tool room kind of lead was that, Mark gets behind the tracks that they sign. You don't see a lot of labels where, the label head, when they sign something, they just like smash all their sets with all the tracks that they sign. And that's something I want to do is like, if you're signing it to my label, you will definitely see me playing your track multiple times in multiple sets. So that's like kind of my promise to you. And just with that being said, I'm planning to sprinkle, rinse, whatever you want to call it, your track all over Miami. It's a shame. It's a shame you won't be there to see, but
Yeah, but obviously I'll be there in spirit now. And it's funny you say that. And one big takeaway I got from our first podcast we did together from you is just more of definitely in the up and coming rookie stages. You were like, look, enjoy every step and every moment of the journey. Don't get caught up like, I could probably really just burn myself out trying to envision what it would look like if I was at your level, or just whatever. And so I just posted before we hit record. I don't know if you saw that on Instagram, like someone playing flashback to a live audience of like, at least 1,000 people. It's the first time I've ever seen like my music played like that in front of that many. And I was just like, man, I said I was going to call you. I'm just calling you Jason now. But I was like, man, I remember when Jason told me like, enjoy every moment. Like I'm going to enjoy the hell out of this moment. Like it's cool to see. So I'm pumped that we might get to see Runna by the name. Runna is the name of my track with DTLA. I'm looking forward to seeing some clips of Runna in front of an audience.
cool. Definitely.
On that note, oh, and actually, I do want to say that's cool that you keep it to like 5 or 6 tracks for the compilation because I have found that to be the scenario, which with even strong and good labels, where it's like you get 30 tracks for the Miami or the ADE or whatever, and you're right, some of the good ones just get buried in there. So when I saw, because I didn't know what to expect, and when I saw you send out the list to the other artists, I'm like, wow, I really I felt more special too. Like it makes the artist feel more important when you're not in there with 25 other people. So that was cool as well. Let's talk about you got a lot of gigs coming up in Miami. When,
Yeah.
where, what can the people get ready for?
Okay. So right now I've got 5 booked events for Redux Saints and one for Placebo Effect. I'm playing pretty much every day once I get there. Tuesday for Unlearned, that's Doc Brown's label. I'm doing events. Wednesday is our Clevelander event, which is super excited about. We're doing that on the rooftop there. Thursday, I'm playing for one of the radio stations that syndicates my DTL radio. It's called Club Sabroso Radio. They're throwing a party, and I'm playing that one Thursday. Then Friday and Saturday, I have events at Mangoes. Um, and we're excited about that because we just got the contracts for the headliners, which we'll be announcing next week. So I'm super excited about
Oh,
that.
wow. Okay. So that, I mean,
So
that's
pretty much everything's coming into place right now. It's just a matter of like, to get to this point though, is like we were starting to talk to people like last November, so it's been a long journey to get here. And just like, when you book these headliners, we'll submit, looking who we're interested in. And it takes like weeks to get a response back and to actually book them. But like it all worked out. We're all happy. We can now
right.
just focus on kind of promoting it and then showing up and having a good time because even though I'm throwing these events, like I try to go into this where I'm not so worried about the event other than having a good time and meeting great people. I mean, that's what I'm looking forward to.
As the one running the event, um, you always do have to wear that different hat. And it's funny because if you invite your friends, family, whoever, um, they forget that you're wearing that hat. Sometimes like, oh dude, I can't wait to see you and take 5 shots or whatever. And like you're like, yeah, cool. But like in the back of your mind, you're like, oh well, I gotta make sure this thing like runs smoothly too. So looks like you're gonna say something there.
No, 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 no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
How how did you manage all this? Because I know you mentioned to me your professional, and this is obviously professional too, but what's the word I'm looking for? Your business background. And I know you still run some sort of a business. So how have you maintained business and everything else that we're talking about right now?
Right. So I've gotten my business. I've been running a software consulting company. We're in our 17th year now. And I think I've taken a different role in the business where I'm more running the business now. I used to be like doing professional services and delivery. So I used to actually go to clients every week to do it. I've gotten to a point right now where I run the company where you know there are meetings I schedule for SIA, and I balance that out with doing like some of the music stuff, because to me the music stuff is also a business as well too. So I'm kind of growing both brands at the same time. And to be honest, one of my goals right now is I'm actually looking to go get my MBA. I've got an open house to go see this weekend here. Because I have these great brands. It's
Mhm.
like, how do I take them to the next, level? And I feel like I still need some education in that. And that's like anything I do, I'm always trying to educate myself further in it, whether it's the music side of stuff, learning new stuff, or even on the software side of stuff. But I
Cool.
still have a passion for both of them. So, it's really just time management. But I mean, the reality is like I'm sitting in front of my computer until I go to bed. I mean, like I go work out, and I wake up at 4 a.m. I make a coffee run, but like I'm, working the majority of the day. So if that answers any of the question there,
Yeah.
like, it's really just kind of the work ethic and like time I'm putting into it.
Well, I might have to I know I've touched lightly with you on kind of my day job as well. And before you go get your MBA, I might have to just kind of show you how we work with clients too, because a lot of it, I mean, for every single, it doesn't matter, like every business in the world, a lot of it all comes down to um, access to capital and marketing.
Yeah.
Like if you got good marketing and you got access to money, whether it's you or friends or family or investors, you can kind of do a lot more in a shorter amount of time. So I didn't
Yes.
didn't mean to make this.
That's actually a great point, because I've self-financed my software company. And like when times are great, it's absolutely great. But when times slow down, I'm like the person that suffers, I guess is the word.
Yeah.
So like we've gone through growth and we've gone through retraction periods. And like once you've gone through that retraction period to then actually grow, you need capital to do it. So it's yeah, I totally get that. And it's like the cash, when they say cash is king or your cash flow for growth, I mean, it absolutely, it's either great for you or it debilitates you. And it's like, sometimes I think that's why majority of people who start small businesses wind up, quitting after a period of time. It's because you can't handle the periods of when, things are not going as desired. And, over a course of years, you know, it's kind of been more of like, okay, like I understand that now. So like I have to prepare myself for those periods. And you can't like let those periods like bring you down energy wise, emotional or whatever. It's just part of like the business cycle. Because like I can tell you one thing, you're worried about cash flow for your software business, and then you're trying to be creative of creating a track, you know, that ain't gonna work. Because like the minute you start stressing out about flow, is the minute your creativity goes into down the fucking toilet. You know what I'm saying? So it's yeah, it's taken years of kind of like balancing everything going on in my life to kind of like get to a place where it's just like, don't sweat the small stuff, because if that it impacts everything else you're doing. It's like, but it's not, sometimes it's not easier said than done.
Words of wisdom. And
Yeah.
you've been able to, I mean, you've really been able to transcend that. I think in regards to small businesses, typically most fail within a year. If not within a year, it's 3 years. And then it's kind of like really just as an entrepreneur too, probably any profession, you name it. Once you can get to that 5 year mark and keep going, that's when things really start coming together from a solid perspective. And Redux, or excuse me, DTLA. Actually, Redux Saint's been around for almost a decade now, right?
No, Redux they started in 2017
Okay.
or
And
2006, 2016, 2016.
2016. Cool.
Placebo was 2018.
Boom. So both of those passed the 5 year mark, but now DTLA is coming up on the 5 year mark as well. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I'm excited about that. Actually, to celebrate it, I've created a best of compilation. So I went back through my catalog and selected about 30 tracks over the past 5 years, and gonna kind of like re-release them and under a compilation. So I'm excited about that. In terms of how else we'll be celebrating, that's like a big 5 years is like a big thing because like I think like in terms of like things getting like your brand getting recognized, 5 years is a good like kind of point of recognition, meaning like you're still doing. I've seen a lot of labels start off really strong and just kind of like fade away. So the one thing I can say for you is one thing and that you'll always see out of me is just the consistency. And this is an interesting conversation that I had with Stuart Knight, Mark's brother.
Hmm.
It was like I would always pick his brain anytime I would go to Maidstones, to visit them, because I was very curious about like how do you actually run this as a business and make money? That was like kind of like in the
Right.
back of my head is like if I really want to do this and be serious about it, like there has to be that aspect of understanding of like, what can you do to create revenues and all this stuff. And the one thing he said to me, which really has kind of stuck hold since I did it, because I created the brand during the master program at Tool Room
Oh, cool.
with Isle Shackleton. And basically, he said to me, he's like, we've just remained consistent in everything that we've done. Tool Room Radio, consistently putting that out. High quality music, consistently putting it out. And that allows them to weather the down periods of stuff. It's because consistency and everything they do is at a certain level. So like I really kind of like I mimic a lot of stuff that they do because I learned that from them when I was a part of that. But it's like, what kind of level do you want to put stuff out at? How consistent do you want to do? How can you be, a brand that continues to get like grow, and these things all were kind of I picked up from them because like, coming into this, like any entrepreneur comes into this as being like, oh man, I'm successful at business. I could just walk into music and be successful, blah, 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 blah. Dude, that's so the farthest thing from the truth. It's such a different world of like first the people you're dealing with, like the revenue streams, like, and all the kind of stuff. So, that's like kind of the learning curve at where I'm at. I'm kind of like, okay, I think I'm starting to click. Like kind of like what you said, the year 5.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool you got like that story with Stuart. He actually was just referred to on our interview with Kid Cut as well. He talked about a special moment with Stuart Knight, who I think I just love. I've gotten to meet him before too, and it to me it's fascinating how influential he is on the whole label. Yet unless I guess you could say unless you go through the academy or like you're really close with Tourum, you wouldn't even know he exists. It's kind of
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Kind
I
of
mean, Mark is the face of it, right? But like, I think the business side of it, was kind of Stewart's niche.
as someone who has brothers, I was like, man, that's really really cool. But and the blueprint is all there to your point. Like I've seen, you've seen Tool Room over the years celebrate their every 5 years an anniversary, the compilations, like from now that you're saying it, and I'm looking at, the history of Tool Room that I'm aware of. Yeah, just you're doing a good job to keep the consistency going. I know talking to I can't remember if it was Danny or someone from the label, but it's like, the goal with every record at Tool Room really maybe Mark said this, is every track a get out of jail card. Right. Like if you play this, like if you're playing a set and you're in trouble and you need to save yourself, you could play Tool Room and you're going to be good. I love that, like, that mindset. So I see DTLA, taking that avenue as well. Thank you for all the get out of free jail cards you're creating. So what's this DJ mix competition you got coming up?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So for a slot on our Wednesday party at the Rooftop Clevelander, and we did this last year as well too, is we're running a competition. You submit a mix. I think it's about 30 to 35 minutes long. Kind of the underground sounds like house and techno kind of mix. And basically what we'll do is we'll aggregate all those mixes and pick the best one, which we have some criteria. It's like music selection, mixing techniques, and overall, I think energy of the mix itself. And then we pick we'll narrow it down to a couple and make a final selection, and that person will get a slot on our lineup. So it was super successful last year. We had Tony H and Andrea do it. We actually had 2 winners last year, and I'm looking forward to it picking a winner this year as well.
How do DJs enter to the contest?
So there's some information on deeptechla.com, but also in like any of the bios, like Deep Tech LA's Instagram, there's a link on there to the rules on how to submit. So we do have some rules in there, like, we need the track listing, we need you to use a specific art cover for it, and then you need to name it something, because I need to be able to find it on SoundCloud.
Yeah, nice. Well, on the note of websites, getting in touch with you and that type of thing, what are the best? Is there one best way for everyone tuned in to follow everything that you're working on right now? Do you have a few different ones you want to recommend?
Yeah, so for most of the stuff is posted. Like I've really focused a little bit on YouTube and TikTok lately, but with that said, I'm pretty much posting all the content across all the platforms. The only one I don't use is Snap.
Can I ask, are you doing this all yourself right now?
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, it's going to be like rocket fuel once you do bring on staff.
Yeah, I think one of the things too is like, and this is also the syndrome of running your own business, is like you do it a certain way and you have like expectations to do it. So like when you bring in other people, it's like sometimes you're like, well, I'll just do it. You know what I mean?
Sure,
I have to, like I was in my software company, I have to be able to do that in the music industry as well too, because there's just this way that I do it stuff. And like it's right around the period where like some people do it, but I've been in talks about people like coming on and helping, as we continue to move this forward. But like right now it's just like it's a drive and passion that I have, that like I'm like it's just got to get done. We have to remain that consistency. So I got to stay up and create pre-order videos for everyone
right.
on the
I'm
competition.
pumped. I'm pumped to get mine out. I'm waiting because I
Yeah.
got to release. We're recording this the day before my next release, but as soon as
So,
that
like,
train has left the station, I got yours queued up.
and that's an interesting thing that's kind of forced me. I learned After Effects to create those videos.
Oh, nice! Wow.
I learned video editing, to like do that stuff. I'd make the artwork in Photoshop. So like all the things that I used to rely on people. And it's not so much that like I can't afford to pay it. It's more about I just like to get it done when I want it done so that I can move on to the next thing I need to do.
Yeah.
It's just that mentality, man.
Nice. All right. Well, Jason, thanks again for investing your most valuable resource with us here today, your time. Thank you for bringing me into the DTLA family as a young and up and coming artist. Blessed to say I had tool room connections, House of Hustle connections have been great working with them, and now to kind of come into the DTLA world. In many ways, I kind of just feel like my cup is more than full. We'll see where it goes from here, but it definitely feels good to I just feel more connected to you now, man. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and best believe I'll be sending some more bangers into the label here soon.
Look forward to hearing them.
All right, everyone, thank you for tuning into another episode of Dream Chasers, Adventures in the Future. We're joined today by Jason Miller, also known as Redux Saints, Placebo Effects. Go see him live in Miami. It's around the corner. What were the dates on that again for Miami?
So I'm playing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
All right.
But the actual dates are I think it's the 18th through that Sunday. So it'd be, what would that be, the 25th?
Sure. Yeah. You can't miss it. If you just go follow him on Instagram or whatever your preferred social media channel is, as you can see, he's everywhere. And again, thank you for tuning in. Remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.